welcome back. Hope you're all doing well. If you are new, welcome to my true crime channel where we discuss wrong-uns of all kinds from all over the world. And today's case takes place in the northeast of England, and it features a beautiful 34-year-old woman named Jessica Patel, a lady who had everything to live for. That was until May 2018, when Jessica would be found dead in her home in Linthorpe in Middlesbrough. Jessica Patel was the firstborn child into a Hindu family on the 16th of September 1983 in Leeds, a city in West Yorkshire. Jessica was described as fun to be around and a girly girl. There was nothing she enjoyed more when she was a youngster than sitting at home with her sister Manal and watching romantic Bollywood movies, hoping one day herself to meet someone, fall for them and start a family, just like the characters in the films she so enjoyed watching. Jessica was a compassionate person, even from a young age, once telling her uncle that she would take his cancer from him if she could. And Jessica was also a clever girl who grew up to become an intelligent young woman, going on in 2002 to study at De Montfort University in Leicester and then heading on to Manchester University to study pharmaceuticals in September 2006. During this period, Jessica reunites with a young man that she's known since she was small. This young man is called Mitesh Patel. The two used to play together as children, and meeting each other at university, they find they still enjoy each other's company, to the point where they commence a relationship. And Mitesh is very supportive to Jessica. He's a confident and likeable lad who gives her thoughtful gifts and teddies and really supports her whilst Jessica's mother becomes very ill and sadly dies from cancer. Mitesh helps Jessica get through this awful time whilst she grieves for her mother. He knows what to say to make her feel comforted and supported, which helps her an awful lot. And the relationship goes from strength to strength, so much so that in 2008 Mitesh approaches Jessica's father to ask for her hand in marriage, but her dad isn't sure about it. He's clearly seen something he isn't sure about in Mitesh, so he says no, he won't give his blessing on this marriage. He thinks Jessica will find someone more suited to her at a later date. But Jessica has her heart set on Mitesh, so she talks her dad around. Her dad just wants his beloved Jessica to be happy, so in the end he agrees to this marriage and even offers his back garden in Leeds as the venue for their wedding, which Jessica excitedly accepts. And their wedding, with up to 600 guests, takes place in June 2009. The wedding is beautiful and Jessica looks incredible in her glorious traditional wedding clothing. She's so happy. She's got a great career as a pharmacist ahead of her, and now she's got a husband. She's got almost everything she's ever dreamed of. Some time passes, and in April 2015, Jessica and Mitesh sign the lease on a pharmacy of their very own in Linthorpe in Middlesbrough, a town in the northeast of England. They also purchase and then renovate a new home, which, like the rest of the houses in that area, is older and spacious with plenty of large rooms and a large driveway. It's a nice leafy suburban area, so they've got their new business, which is running well, and their newly decorated home. And then their minds turn to having children, and so not long later, in October 2015, they commence IVF treatment, but sadly 3 rounds of these treatments are unsuccessful. Jessica has always wanted to be a mother, so this treatment not working makes her really sad and frustrated. It gets to the point where Jessica ends up being prescribed medication for anxiety and depression by her doctor because she feels so under pressure to get pregnant, and this treatment is just not working. But finally, in May 2018, the IVF treatment works. 3 embryos have been fertilised and will be implanted next month. And of course, Jessica is elated. This is what she's always wanted, so she's over the moon. The joy in her face is clear for everyone to see. She's finally getting her dream come true. Just a few days later, on May 14th, 2018, Jessica would be found dead, aged just 34 years old, in her home by her husband Mitesh. She's been strangled. At 8:24 p.m, Mitesh, after finding Jessica, calls the emergency services.
I think we've been burgled and my wife's been attacked. I've just come home and the house is ransacked and she's just on the floor. She's got duct tape all over her and she's like unconscious. Her hands are really cold. Please, can you send someone quickly?
Yeah, I am.
No, Jess, come on, baby, wake up. Baby, wake up.
The police, of course, arrive on the scene immediately to find Jessica dead and surrounded by a completely ransacked home. She has duct tape on her wrists and her throat has been crushed. Police, of course, immediately ask Mitesh what his movements and Jessica's movements were that day, and he tells police that he worked the early shift in the pharmacy and then he went to the gym. After the gym, he went to the pizza shop at around 7:30 p.m. to get them both a pizza. Meanwhile, Jessica, after working late at the pharmacy, had got home at around 7:10 p.m. Mitesh by this point had gone to get a takeaway pizza for them both, but when he got home the place was turned over and he found his wife dead. The locals are horrified by this murder. This is usually a safe area and they are terrified that they could be next. They don't know what to think. Was this a botched robbery or is there a potential serial killer on the loose? And Jessica's family are, of course, devastated at this news and they do their best to support Mitesh, who sits on the sofa and cries on their shoulders. Jessica's sister Manal and her father both hug Mitesh and try to comfort their grieving brother and son-in-law, telling him that they'll be there for him no matter what. So the police cordon off the home and block the entire road off and they start investigating this murder. There's the possible avenue that this couple appeared rich to someone who may have been watching them, knowing they owned the local pharmacy, so it's possible they were targeted for money. It's also possible they were targeted because they own a pharmacy and so have access to all sorts of drugs that someone may want to either use themselves or sell on. But the police concentrate on the house first and foremost and almost immediately ascertain that as much as the house is ransacked, there's no sign of forced entry, so it has to be the case that Jessica knew the person who attacked her. And Jessica was well known for being incredibly friendly and would happily invite anyone in if she thought they needed her. The next day, police, in accordance with procedure, check that what Mitesh told them about his whereabouts that day are accurate. So they ask for the CCTV footage from the pizza shop, and it shows exactly what he said, that he was at the pizza shop when he said he was. So they're pretty stumped for suspects. But then they get a major breakthrough, and just 3 days after Jessica was murdered, police make an arrest. They arrest 37-year-old Jessica Patel on suspicion of murder. The breakthrough came after police had searched a bedroom in the house and found a hard drive that Mitesh had hidden in a bundle of clothes under a mattress. This hard drive stored a video of the Patel's own CCTV footage, which clearly showed him and only him entering the house that day. Mitesh had never mentioned there being any CCTV on the house because he knew that only he would feature on it, and not only that, he'd also switched it off just 6 minutes before calling 999. The CCTV showed Mitesh getting home at 3:30 p.m. Then it showed Jessica getting home at 7 p.m. It's only after Jessica got home that Mitesh then left the house at 7:42 p.m. So the only person who was ever seen in the house with Jessica that night was her husband. He's then shown returning home with the pizza at 8:15 p.m. and then just minutes later he switches the CCTV off, clearly realising, oh dear, I've just caught myself on my own camera in the middle of a massive lie. This is all hugely incriminating for Mitesh, but the police then find out even more about this man that no one could ever have predicted. After speaking to Jessica's family and friends, the police get a much different picture of Jessica's life compared to what it appeared to be on the outside. And now we need to go back a little in the timeline to look at how Jessica came to lose her life. Jessica, after the wedding, moves in with Mitesh and his family. There's expectations there from Mitesh's family that Jessica should get a good job, whilst also looking after the home and her husband. And this is a little stressful for her because his family are apparently not very nice to her, to the point of being verbally abusive. And not only this, but just a few months after their wedding, Mitesh's personality seems to change. Or perhaps not change, but his real personality starts to show through, and he becomes distant from Jessica, whilst at the same time starts to become more controlling. It's 2010 now, and Jessica's grandfather falls seriously ill. Her family know he doesn't have long left, and they all gather together as you do during times like this. And Jessica wants to do the same, but Mitesh tells her she's not to go. In fact, he refuses to let her go, hitting her when she dares to argue with him about it. And so Jessica's grandfather lives out his remaining few days surrounded by his family, all except for Jessica, who barely gets to visit him at all. And as more time passes, Jessica changes too, just like Mitesh, but she changes in a way that's clearly visible to her family. She sees them a lot less and becomes quieter. Her confidence slowly ebbs away as Mitesh puts her down in public, and whenever they're with her family, Mitesh is clock watching, ticking down the minutes until they can leave. Mitesh goes on to tell their colleagues at work that Jessica is pregnant with twins. He does this solely for his own amusement. He thinks it's funny. Jessica isn't pregnant. In fact, she's really struggling to conceive. And now she has to tell all her colleagues that there are no twins. And given how desperate she is for a child, this is incredibly painful for her. She doesn't understand why he would tell people this lie. But Mitesh is a liar. He's a compulsive liar, and he's about to get worse. Mitesh keeps a lot of secrets from his wife, lying every day about what he's getting up to. But Jessica is an intelligent lady. She notices this odd behaviour. He hasn't been intimate with her for a very long time, and she knows something's going on. Mitesh is on his phone a lot. If Jessica walks into a room whilst he's on his phone, he'll walk out of it and avoid her all night, only going to bed at 4 a.m. She knows he's contacting someone on his phone, but can't find out who because she doesn't know his phone passcode. In actual fact, Mitesh is messaging numerous people on dating websites, to the point where he gets particularly close to one of them and he begins a relationship with them. He even invites this person to the family home and introduces them to Jessica, who happily allows them to stay the night, believing them to be Mitesh's friend. But why would she believe that story? Well, it's because this person is a man. Mitesh is gay and has been accessing gay dating websites such as Grindr and having hookups with men. In the process, he's fallen head over heels for a doctor named Jessica Patel, and it's him who he invites into the family home, letting him stay the night in the same house as his wife. And that night, Mitesh remains in the spare room with his friend Amit for most of the night, with Jessica having no idea that this is just one of several men he's been cheating on her with. Jessica knows that Mitesh is up to something, but without proof, she refuses to believe it. She's married this man, and she feels a duty to try to make it work. She's very much of the opinion that she's made her bed by marrying Mitesh, and now she has to lie in it, which is in itself heartbreaking. Jessica is still trying her best to make this marriage work, even though Mitesh is doing whatever he wants. Even when they go on holiday, Mitesh disappears all night with a tour guide, only returning in the early hours of the next morning, without a care in the world about how this must make Jessica feel. So 2012 comes around and Mitesh is still in contact with Jessica Patel, and Jessica's sister Divya notices a text on Mitesh's phone from Amit, and it says, "Love you too, kiss kiss." She tells Jessica what she's seen, and Jessica broaches it with Mitesh, but he just tells her she should trust him more and to stop looking at his private messages. He turns it all around back on Jessica, as though it's her fault for being nosy and jumping to conclusions, and as a result, she tells her family they need to back off. Then April 2015 rolls around, and as much as this move to Middlesbrough to open their own pharmacy is meant to be a fresh start for the couple, what Mitesh is really doing by signing this lease to the pharmacy is he's making sure that Jessica's family can't meddle anymore. He's taking her far enough away so that she's separated from all of her family and friends and only has him for company. He's doing this so her family can't ruin this facade he's built, the facade of a happily married heterosexual couple. Mitesh simply cannot have his family knowing he's gay. There's no way they would approve of that. So the longer he stays with Jessica, the longer he gets to be outwardly one person and be an entirely different person behind closed doors. And then Mitesh becomes more violent. On more than one occasion, he throttles Jessica, and when she tells him that it hurts, he just laughs at her and plays it down. The staff at their pharmacy notice that he frequently shouts at Jessica in front of them and their customers. She's spotted limping after Mitesh has thrown a mobile phone at her leg, which bruises it. And he also throws other things at her and, in the workplace, frequently walks around shouting and slamming doors. It's during this time the couple are undergoing IVF treatment, and Mitesh knows Jessica desperately wants a child, and he knows that he can control her so long as this is happening. He knows that she will feel anxious and depressed because it isn't working, and he revels in it, whilst continuing his affair with Amit and meeting up with other men via the Grindr app. It gets to 2017 and the IVF still hasn't worked, and Jessica knows he's seeing other men, so she texts him saying, should we stop the IVF given our relationship is in such a bad way, but he replies saying he's done nothing wrong. She responds saying something along the lines of, well, I've seen the texts that you've been sending, so it doesn't seem that way to me. She says, I did say you'll be forgiven. I want to be a mother and have always felt that since I got married. To have my own little family was my dream. Then she says, please be honest with me. But he just says what he's been doing with these men is just banter and says, I am being honest with you. The only person I wanted and have wanted is you. I love you, and if I didn't, I can assure you we'd be long parted. But then when she says perhaps they should stop the IVF, he gets nasty and says, you can forgive me, but I won't forgive you for this. Okay, I'm telling you this then, we're parting ways. So he's basically saying she will continue IVF or he's leaving her. But the cruelest part of all of this is that Mitesh has always known that Jessica won't get pregnant, because this entire time he's been taking suppression pills to make sure his count is so low that it's highly unlikely he could get anyone pregnant. Mitesh is putting Jessica through the stress, anxiety and depression of not being able to conceive naturally, whilst actively knowing that he's the reason she can't. Jessica has been to the doctor to get pills and therapy as a result of the way she's feeling, and all the while he knows damn well that she has little to no chance of naturally conceiving a baby with him. Meanwhile, Mitesh is now head over heels for Dr. Amit Patel, who by this point has moved to Australia, and Mitesh starts to think that he'd like to join him. He starts to seriously plot to emigrate to Australia and start a new life with his so-called soulmate. But knowing that Amit is aware that they're currently undergoing IVF, he texts Amit asking, will you stand by me? Amit replies saying, she might not even get pregnant, we'll deal with it when it happens. But then Mitesh's plans take a sordid turn, and it's at this point that I get chills, because this is truly sickening. Mitesh wants a life with Amit. He doesn't want his wife, he never has, but he does want something from her. As a result of the IVF treatment, Jessica has had her embryos frozen and stored in a fertility clinic. And of course, Mitesh has access to these just as much as his wife does. Mitesh starts to think if he can just get rid of his wife, he can access those embryos and take them with him to Australia. He can use Jessica's embryos to get a child of his own and raise it with Amit. And he questions Amit. Would you love it as your own? Now, I don't know if he could have actually gone ahead with this realistically. I guess maybe he could, given he was 50% of those fertilised embryos, but just the fact that this was even a plan he intended on carrying out is utterly sick. But whilst Mitesh's mind is partly on those embryos, it's also on his future and how the £2 million worth of life insurance policies in Jessica's name will help him create his new life with her embryos in Australia with his lover. So with his new future in mind, now he just needs to get Jessica out of the way, texting Amit saying his plan would come to fruition sooner if she went earlier. He texts Amit saying, I'm telling you, her days are marked. He describes Jessica as a leaseholder whose lease is coming to an end. Mitesh then needs to plan how to get his wife out of the picture, and just 3 weeks before Jessica's death, he accesses the internet, typing into a search engine, I need to kill my wife, insulin overdose. He also types, plot to kill my wife, do I need a co-conspirator? He types hiring hitman UK and can 3mm of insulin kill? And finally he types Hindu funerals for murdered women. And at the same time he's searching for those things, he also searches for properties available to buy in Australia with the life insurance money he intends to claim on after he kills his wife. And just a few weeks later, after working late at the pharmacy on the night of the 14th of May 2018, Jessica returns home at 7 p.m. She barely makes it through the door before her husband attacks her. He injects her with insulin and binds her feet and hands with duct tape. He forces a Tesco supermarket bag over her head to suffocate her before strangling her, breaking the bones in her voice box. Jessica does her best and tries to fight back. She scratches his neck, but just 20 minutes later, she passes away. After this, he runs up and down the stairs of the house, opening drawers and throwing belongings around to stage a break-in. And then, leaving Jessica dead on the living room floor, he goes to buy a pizza as his alibi. He calmly waits in the pizza shop after placing his order, texting Jessica's phone to say he's bringing a pizza home, knowing she'll never read it. He buys the pizza and before leaving has a chat with a staff member of the pizza shop who he knows has recently lost his wife. Mitesh apologises to this man for his loss, knowing his own wife is back at his house, killed by his own hands. And you can see how calm he is in the CCTV footage. You would never know he'd just killed his own wife less than an hour before. Mitesh then leaves the shop and makes his way home. Once he gets home, he switches off the CCTV and hides the hard drive. He then makes the 999 call. And listening to that call again, knowing what you know now, it just shows how calculating and deceptive this man really is.
I think we've been burgled and my wife's been attacked. I've just come home and the house is ransacked and she's just on the floor. She's got duct tape all over her and she's like unconscious. Her hands are really cold. Please, can you send someone quickly?
Yeah, I am.
No, Jess, come on, baby, wake up. Baby, wake up.
Now, as we know, just 3 days later, Mitesh is arrested and police take their chance to seize his and Jessica's phones, and they find something very interesting on there. Mitesh has a health tracking app on his phone, the kind that has a pedometer on it, but it also tracks to say if you've been up or down any flights of stairs, and on the night of the killing it shows Mitesh, just shortly before leaving to get pizza, for some reason running up and down stairs, just up and down the stairs multiple times. The police believe that Mitesh running up and down the stairs is him racing around the house multiple times after killing his wife to make the house look like it's been robbed, opening drawers and throwing items around. Too bad for him, he had his phone with the tracking app on it in his pocket the whole time. And not only that, but Jessica had the same app on her phone too, and hers shows, after a certain time, no movement whatsoever. It's only after Jessica is already dead that her phone then moves 14 paces, as Mitesh takes it from her body and places it outside, to make it look as though this intruder has accidentally dropped it as he's run from the house. Mitesh's phone also shows his exact steps once he finds Jessica's body. It shows him going up the stairs into the bedroom to do something before he calls 999. And as we know, after searching the bedroom, the police had found a hard drive that he'd stashed in a bundle of clothes underneath a mattress, which shows a video of his own CCTV footage showing him, and only him, entering that house that night. Mitesh's belongings are also searched, and prepared syringes filled with insulin are found in his bag. The police also find some duct tape hidden in the pharmacy, which later proves to be an exact match for the tape found on Jessica. The tear line is an exact match to the tear line on the roll. Mitesh stands trial in December 2018 at Teesside Crown Court, and everything about what Mitesh has been up to for 4 years finally comes out. Family members said they knew just 5% of what came out. The remaining 95% was a complete shock to all of them. Many people saw examples of Mitesh being cruel or abusive here and there, but it wasn't until it all came together that they realised just what hell Jessica was really going through at the hands of Mitesh. The scratch marks on Mitesh, which he explained away as having happened at the gym, were connected to the skin found underneath Jessica's fingernails, and a Tesco bag found in the home is also confirmed to be the bag that he used to suffocate Jessica, with her DNA, including both her saliva and her blood, found inside of it. I guess he thought that because a Tesco bag is such a normal thing to find around the house, no one would ever suspect that that would be the murder weapon. Texts between Amit and Mitesh are revealed at trial, showing him stating that he never wanted Jessica for any reason other than to help him present as a straight man to his family and to the outside world. And although there's no proof to show that Amit knew precisely what Mitesh planned to do, the text sent from Mitesh to Amit about Jessica's days being numbered certainly show that what Mitesh did was premeditated, especially in combination with those very telling internet searches he made. After 2 weeks, the jury are unanimous in finding Mitesh guilty of the murder of his wife Jessica, and he is given a life sentence with a minimum of 30 years in prison. The information on his phone that tracked his movements that night was some damning evidence in court, and was in fact a legal first in the UK, where an iPhone health app assisted in gaining a conviction. In sentencing Mitesh, the judge said this was a brutal attack on a quiet and gentle woman who was prepared to put her trust and faith in her marriage, despite your behaviour towards her. You have no remorse for your actions. The only pity you have is for yourself. And Mitesh proved this by showing no emotion or reaction throughout the trial or during his sentencing. After Jessica's death, there was an independent review, and it found that what happened to Jessica was actually an honour killing. This honour killing took place because Mitesh believed that his sexuality and adultery would be considered dishonourable to his family. So in his mind, the only way to protect his honour was to kill his wife. There was simply no way he could divorce her due to his sexuality. This honour killing took place not because Mitesh believed that Jessica was dishonourable, but because this was the only way he could protect his honour by being widowed rather than getting divorced because he was gay. As a result of this case, more work is being done to look at honour-based killings and to try to learn how to spot the signs of potential honour killings before they happen. Not only this, but there's also requests for work to be done by the Home Office in connection with abuse in small family-owned businesses, because that is a difficult situation. If employees spot domestic violence in a family-run business, they need more guidance on what to do, because of course if you work for a family-run business, you can't just go to your boss, because the boss could be the abuser, and so people don't say anything for fear of accusations of interfering in family matters, or they could lose their job. Of course, Jessica's family were and still are devastated by what's happened, and the reason I've covered this case is partly because I feel very passionately about raising awareness of domestic violence, but also because Jessica's family want to get more awareness out there about domestic abuse and how it isn't just physical. It can be financial, emotional, mental, and it can be coercive control. These things are all considered domestic abuse, and I think people need to know that just because they haven't hit you doesn't mean they aren't harming you. Jessica's sister Manal said, "Abuse doesn't have to be physical. It was all mental torture for Jessica. As a family, we all knew little bits, and if we had put all those bits together, then we would have realised what was happening. If somebody might be facing this, then you have a duty to speak up and say something. A hunch could be the difference between life and death. So that this act of evil is not repeated, we encourage everyone to open their eyes, to ask questions, and never assume that everything is okay." And I totally agree with what Jessica's family is saying. I'll leave some relevant numbers and links below if you believe that you or a member of your family might be going through something like this, especially during lockdown where women and men are having to spend even more time with their abusers. It's important now more than ever to raise awareness of this and try our best to look out for ourselves and our friends and family. And that's it. I hope you found this case interesting. If you did, please give me a like, comment and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. My social media handles are down below in the description box if you'd like to follow me over on there too. Have a great day, stay safe, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.